you grew up in the 60s or 70s, you know the power of music. Those albums, songs, and bands weren't just hits. They were the soundtracks to our lives. They shaped our world, our memories, and even our hearts. Whether you were rocking at those $5 concerts, singing along to your brother's records, or just hanging out with friends, these 13 bands and their albums will take you straight back to a time when music had soul, attitude, and a whole lot of groove. So get ready for a trip down memory lane, because if you remember these, you were right there in that golden era. If you were near a radio in the late 70s, chances are you couldn't escape the soaring guitar riffs and crystal clear harmonies of Boston. Bursting onto the rock scene in 1976 with a sound that was both powerful and polished, Boston quickly became one of the most beloved bands of the era, combining the raw energy of rock with the precision of a studio wizard. Boston became a household name with their self-titled debut album, Boston, 1976, which remains one of the best-selling debut albums in history. That record gave us timeless anthems like Their second album, Don't Look Back in 1978, continued the magic with the title track becoming another radio staple. Boston's music still echoes through classic rock stations, nostalgic playlists, and fond memories of summer nights, road trips, and first loves. If you grew up in the 70s, you probably remember exactly where you were the first time you heard More Than a Feeling. And if you didn't, well, it's never too late to fall in love with it. If you were a fan of loud guitars, screaming organs, and thunderous drums in the early 70s, Deep Purple probably shook your living room walls and your soul. Formed in 1968, Deep Purple quickly carved out a place for themselves as one of the pioneers of hard rock and heavy metal. But what made them stand out was their ability to blend classical influences with pure rock energy, creating a sound that was both sophisticated and ferocious. Their style was loud, fast, and precise. Deep Purple combined virtuosic musicianship with catchy songwriting. Who could forget Ritchie Blackmore's fiery guitar solos, John Lord's organ wizardry, and Ian Gillan's powerful vocals?
I have often told a story.
They released 3 albums during this time. In rock in 1970, Machine Head and Made in Japan, both in 1972. Their hit songs include Deep Purple weren't just loud, they were tight, innovative, and ahead of their time. Their music still holds up today. Whether you're blasting it in your car or just reminiscing about the golden age of rock. If you grew up in the 70s, Deep Purple probably soundtracked more than a few unforgettable nights. And if you're hearing them again today, well, that's more than a feeling. It's pure classic rock energy.
Lord, you know, there ain't a sanity. On a dark desert highway,
If there's one band that captured the laid-back spirit of the 1970s while still delivering tight harmonies and unforgettable hooks, it's the Eagles.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Their music was the soundtrack of sun-drenched highways, heartbreak, and late-night reflections, blending rock, country, and folk in a way that felt distinctly American. Formed in Los Angeles in 1971, the Eagles were masters of harmony.
And your smile.
They built a sound around crisp guitars, smooth vocals, and storytelling lyrics that spoke to the hopes and weariness of a generation. Their hit songs include
Welcome to the Hotel California. Take it easy. Now it seems to me some fine things have been laid upon you. You can't hide your lying eye. Hopeless romantics, here we go again. Life in the fast lane surely make you lose your mind. Life in the fast.
During this time, they released Hotel California in 1976, their most famous and critically acclaimed album. In 1973, they came up with a concept album with a Western outlaw theme, Desperado. Their greatest hits album from 1971 to 1975 turned out to be one of the best-selling albums of all time. The Eagles weren't just a band, they were an emotion. If you lived through the 70s, chances are the Eagles didn't just play on your radio, they played a part in your story. If you were into the more dreamy, melodic side of 70s progressive rock, you might have found a quiet gem in Camel, a British band that never chased the spotlight, but earned deep respect from those who truly listened. Formed in the early 70s, Camel blended rock, jazz, classical, and ambient influences into a sound that was atmospheric, emotional, and beautifully restrained. They didn't rely on big egos or flashy stage antics. They let their music do the talking. Camel's music is often described as cinematic and lyrical, even in their instrumental tracks. Their compositions felt more like short films than typical rock songs. Some of the best albums in the 70s include Camel's music still resonates today, not through loud anthems, but through the quiet beauty of songs that unfold like a good novel. If you ever lay back, close your eyes and let a Camel album play all the way through, you know it's a journey worth taking and one that brings you back memories. When you talk about legendary bands that evolved and endured, few stories are as fascinating or as musically rich as Genesis. Starting out in the late 60s as part of the British progressive rock wave, Genesis would eventually transform into one of the biggest pop rock acts of the 80s. But no matter the era, their sound was always inventive, emotional, and uniquely their own. In the 1970s, Genesis made a name for themselves with complex, theatrical, and imaginative music. Fronted by the charismatic Peter Gabriel, they created elaborate concept albums with fantastical lyrics, unusual time signatures, and epic song structures. Their live shows were legendary. Gabriel often wore masks and costumes to bring the stories to life. In the late 70s and into the 80s, they shifted toward a more accessible, radio-friendly sound, blending pop, rock, and a bit of their prog roots. And it worked. They became massively successful without losing their musical edge. Hits from this era include Genesis is a rare band that managed to satisfy both the head and the heart, appealing to prog rock fans who love 10-minute tracks and complex musicianship, and to casual listeners who just wanted a good melody and something to dance to. If you ever lay back in the 60s or 70s, stared at the ceiling, and let music take you somewhere else entirely, chances are you were listening to the Moody Blues. With their rich symphonic sound and philosophical lyrics, they were more than just a rock band. They were a journey for the mind and the soul. Formed in Birmingham, England, the Moody Blues began as an R&B group, but quickly evolved into one of the pioneers of progressive rock, blending classical orchestration with rock instruments in ways no one had quite heard before. They were poets, philosophers, and sound architects all rolled into one. If you were a fan of the Moody Blues, you will remember these albums and songs that made them famous.
Voices in the sky, blue onyx on the sea. Send me no one to make an invitation. Please never on your side. You know it's
without measure, gives in return the wondrous yearn of a promise.
Their sound was orchestral, dreamy, and deeply emotional. They introduced the mellotron, an early keyboard that mimicked an orchestra, into rock music, creating lush soundscapes long before synthesizers took over. Their music spoke about life, love, time, and the human experience. If you haven't listened in a while, put on Days of Future Past, close your eyes and let them carry you away, just like they did all those years ago.
the trees are drawing me near. I can take another little piece of my heart now, baby.
When Janice Joplin sang, you felt it in your bones. There was no filter, no polish, just raw soul, heartache, and fire. She didn't just perform a song, she lived it. And in doing so, she became one of the most unforgettable voices of the 1960s. Born in Texas, but destined for the world stage, Janice rose to fame as the blistering frontwoman of Big Brother in the holding company, later stepping into her own as a solo artist. With her raspy wail, bluesy phrasing, and electric stage presence, Janice broke every mold of what a female rock star should be. She was powerful, vulnerable, wild, and completely herself, and that's why people loved her. If you loved Janice, you would remember these songs.
Buy me a Mercedes Benz.
Her album Pearl, released in 1971 after her death, showed her at her most refined and confident self. Until today, it remains a masterpiece. And though she's been gone for over 5 decades, her music still reaches deep, just like it did back then.
She'll be high.
Released in 1976, Frampton Comes Alive. It captured the energy, charm, and crowd connection that made Frampton a rising star of the 70s. Before this album, Peter Frampton was well known in rock circles, but hadn't cracked mainstream superstardom. Then came Frampton Comes Alive, a double live album that sounded better than most studio albums, packed with emotion, crisp musicianship, and that signature talkbox effect that made everyone ask, how is his guitar talking? This wasn't just another live album. It felt like you were right there in the crowd, singing along with thousands of others. Hits from this album include For anyone who remembers picking up that vinyl, unfolding the gatefold cover, and dropping the needle, Frampton Comes Alive wasn't just music. It was a shared experience, a feel-good moment from a time when rock and roll brought people together.
I can see the sunset in your eyes, gray. The boys are back in town, boys are back in town.
When you hear the twin guitars come screaming in, followed by that unmistakable voice singing, "The boys are back in town," you know it's Thin Lizzy.
The boys are back in town, boys are back in town.
This Irish rock band had a sound all their own, part street poetry, part Celtic soul, and all rock and roll.
Tonight is gonna be a jailbreak.
Led by the charismatic and poetic Phil Lynott, Thin Lizzy stood out not just for their sound, but for their heart and authenticity. Lynott wasn't just the singer and bassist, he was the band's emotional core, telling stories about working-class heroes, outlaws, lovers, and dreamers. Their album Jailbreak in 1976 was their breakthrough record, featuring hit songs like
The boys are back in town, boys are back in town. Tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak, so won't you be around?
Thin Lizzy brought poetry to hard rock, with lyrics that painted vivid pictures, especially in Lynott's warm, unmistakable voice. They were proud of their Irish roots, and they carried that identity into their music, long before it was common to do so.
The boys are back in town, boys are back in town. She's some kind of wonderful, yes she is, she's
If you were into rock music in the early 70s, then you definitely knew the name Grand Funk Railroad, or maybe just Grand Funk, as fans affectionately called them. They weren't about glitz or over-the-top theatrics. Grand Funk brought pure, blue-collar rock and roll that came straight from the heart of America, with big drums, blistering guitar, and a whole lot of soul. Grand Funk Railroad was known for their heavy, blues-infused hard rock, perfect for stadiums, long drives, and blasting on a boombox. They were one of the early bands to bridge garage rock and arena rock, laying down the groundwork for future groups who wanted to keep it gritty but still go big. Their hit songs include
We're coming to your town, we'll help you party it down, we're an American band. She's some kind of wonderful, yes she is, she's some kind of wonderful. Oh, are you really scheming? We're gonna play this foot-stomping music, everybody get up and groove, yeah.
Grand Funk Railroad was a people's band. They may not always get the recognition they deserve in rock history books, but ask anyone who saw them live or cranked up their 8-track on a summer night, and they'll tell you, this band rocked hard, meant every word, and gave fans a real good time. So go on, spin closer to home or some kind of wonderful, and let Grand Funk take you right back.
You stole my heart, but I love you. So wake up, Maggie. I think I got some maybe.
If there's one thing you can say about Rod Stewart, it's that he's never been boring. From his raspy voice to his undeniable charisma, Rod Stewart was one of the most distinct, colorful figures in rock and roll. Whether he was belting out a heart-wrenching ballad or dancing through a swaggering anthem, Rod always brought his A-game, and in the process became one of the most iconic entertainers of the 1970s and beyond. Rod's sound was a little bit of everything. At his core, he was a rock singer with a soul of gold, blending the energy of rock with the smoothness of rhythm and blues, and a touch of folk for good measure. His raspy voice, often compared to a gravelly whisper, became his trademark, and it was perfect for his eclectic mix of genres.
Nobody gonna stop us now.
Rod Stewart's flair for style wasn't just on stage, it was also off stage. He was one of the first rock stars to embrace the glam rock aesthetic in the early 70s. With his wild hair, flashy clothes, and bold attitude, he was one of the few rock stars to successfully juggle a career in music with massive popularity in the fashion world.
In my heart, you will always remain forever young, forever young, forever young. Strangers waiting, just a small town girl living in a lonely world.
When you think of the rock ballads that made the 80s unforgettable, Journey is bound to come to mind. With their soaring melodies, emotive lyrics, and unmistakable sound, Journey became one of the defining bands of the era, turning arenas into sing-along havens with their anthems of hope, love, and perseverance.
Strangers searching in the night.
Journey is an American rock band formed in San Francisco in 1973 by former members of Santana, the Steve Miller Band, and Frumious Bandersnatch. Led by the iconic Steve Perry, Journey was more than just a band. They were the soundtrack to the dreams and feelings of an entire generation. If you were a fan of Journey, you would remember these hit songs.
Strangers waiting. So now I come to you.
It's the way you need it, any way you want it.
Wheel in the sky keeps on turning.
Journey's magic was that they made big, emotional rock music that you could feel in your soul, but also sing along to with your friends. Their ability to write relatable lyrics about love and struggle while also delivering high-energy rockers helped them cross into the hearts of listeners far beyond rock fans. And Steve Perry's voice, that was a gift to the world.
This is ground control to Major Tom. There's a starman waiting in the sky.
If there's one name that defines musical reinvention, it's David Bowie. Throughout the 70s and 80s, Bowie didn't just make music. He shaped culture, pushed boundaries, and redefined what it meant to be an artist. Whether he was rocking out as the alien-like Ziggy Stardust or diving into the sleek, cool sounds of Plastic Soul with Young Americans, Bowie was always ahead of the curve.
This is Major Tom's ground control. I'll take in a most peculiar way.
Bowie's music is a fascinating blend of rock, glam, soul, and electronic. But what really set him apart was his chameleon-like persona. He wasn't just an artist, he was a storyteller, and every album was a new chapter in a new character's life. Who would forget these hits that spanned across a decade?
This is ground control to Major Tom. Ziggy played guitar, jamming good with wind. Showing nothing, it swoops like a song, she cries. Where have all Papa's heroes gone? Oh, we can be heroes just for one day. Put on your red shoes and dance.
David Bowie's music was a mirror of humanity's complexities, full of contradictions, yet entirely genuine. His influence can still be seen in every corner of modern music and pop culture today. So next time you hear Space Oddity, Heroes, or Let's Dance, remember that David Bowie didn't just make music. He changed the world. He's not gone. He's just a part of the music and culture we continue to live and breathe every day.
There's a starman waiting, thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky.
And there you have it. These 13 bands, their albums and songs truly defined the 60s and 70s. If you were lucky enough to grow up with them, you know they still hold a special place in your heart. So, which one brought back the most memories for you? Drop a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the trip down memory lane, and subscribe for more blasts from the past as we bring you more nostalgic videos next week. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep the music playing.
Today.